right, what's going on, everybody? This is JT, your host of the Buck Ball Podcast. I've been trying to get some guests on. It's a little troubling, but we're going to go on with the show. We're going to talk about the Bucs free agents that they've signed, the ones that they've lost, um, you know, and we're going to get into a couple odds and ends here and there. Let's go ahead and start it off with Deion Buchanan. This is one that we kind of seen from a mile away. I mean, his best season was in 2015. Started 16 games one time. Hasn't played a full 16 but once, obviously. And he's got only 2 interceptions, but 12 pass deflections, 7 forced fumbles, 7 sacks, 311 solo tackles, 27 tackles for loss, 14 quarterback hits. Now, obviously that's like a linebacker's kind of stats, and that's what they kind of drafted him to be. They call him the money backer, and I think once they drafted Buda Baker, his time there was kind of coming to a close. And, on top of that, he wasn't staying very healthy. He did play up to 13 games at one point. But, last year, he only played 34% of the defensive snaps. And like I said, Buda is your nickel kind of do-it-all guy. That kind of spelled the end for Tyrann Mathieu, too, if you really think about it. But, overview, in 2018, he only started 6 games. Out of 13, really. But the Cardinals were a mess, so you can't really, I don't know. You kind of want to give a guy like that a clean slate. He's coming back with Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians. But, he barely got any snaps in Steve Wilkes' defense. So, he does deserve a fresh start. And he's got a pretty decent production with all things considered. So it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in to the defense. I'm pretty sure he's going to be one of the inside linebackers next to maybe Levante David in the 3-4, probably maybe splitting a little bit of carry or a little bit of snaps with Kevin Minter, but we'll see how that goes. So obviously we have Cairo re-signing. Decent year, solid year, not great, but all things considered, I think he was a breath of fresh air for the most part. Let's go over here. But this is my favorite signing, Shaq Barrett. I thought this dude's always been underrated. 13 games in 2018, 20 solo tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. He didn't have any forced fumbles, no fumble recoveries, he had a pass deflection. It's not a great year. But if you go back to 2015 and like the rest of the year, if you go all in all total, he's played 61 games. He hasn't started a lot of games at all. He's got 98 solo tackles, 25 tackles for loss, 14 sacks. No interceptions, 7 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, 7 pass deflections. That's not bad. So when I started looking at his stats, I started saying, okay, he's got pretty decent production. And, they had Bradley Chubb, Von Miller, he split time with Shane Ray. They wanted Shane Ray to develop because he was a high draft pick and things like that. And he boosts the outside linebacker spot for us. Definitely some camp competition for Noah Spence because he'll be standing up in his defense now too. But look at him last year. Shaq Barrett basically only played 25% of the snaps behind the pass rushers in Denver. So he's ready for a bigger workload. That's one of my favorite signings. I have always said that, these guys are kind of like diamonds in the rough. These guys are gems when they're barely getting any snaps behind another guy. And maybe Denver didn't really want to let him go, but they have people to fill his place, and sometimes these things get made, and you guys as trash as our treasure. Look at Carl Nassib. Now, one of the guys that we did bring back is Peyton Barber. I'm excited about Peyton Barber, and you know what? I'm not really upset if the Bucs don't draft a running back. I'm not gonna freak out. I would like them to, but I would love to see Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones and Andre Ellington, who I'm not even really sure about. We'll get back to him in a minute. I'd love to just see him. Well, let me put it this way: I don't care who the running back is. If the offensive line's not playing well, no one's doing anything. So. And, of course, Bruce Arians is talking him up. That's fine. But, we all know Barber isn't an elite back, and that's okay. They can still upgrade behind him. And Rojo, like I said, you can't count on it at the moment. And, like I said, you signed Ellington, who's had his own injury problems, only started 16 games once. $2.2 million contract. Bruce is gonna want a pass catching back. Barber had 20 catches last year. Not to say he can't really. That's just not his game. He only averaged 56 yards a game, but that isn't really his fault. I mean, many factors go into that. Bucs are still basically at 70% pass, 30% run. That isn't the exact number, but it's like 65, something around there. I just looked at it. But if you look at the season in a whole, it's 234 rushes, 871 yards, 3.7 yards a carry, and only cracked 100 yards once this year, and twice in his career, as a matter of fact. So, no, he isn't a game changer, but he's earned the right to a new staff and a better line to maybe make some money next year. Now, also, the Bucs are signing depth guys like Nunez Roches, the defensive lineman, Devontae Harris, who's been pretty solid, but it's a depth piece. Earl Warford, guard, depth piece. Lost Andrew Adams, our leading interception guy, thanks to Cam Newton. You're restructuring Bo Allen, who converted some of his money to pretty much guarantee to free up about $1 million. But the Bucs aren't done. Then you add in a guy like, Shad Perriman, who hasn't proven to be a capable 1 or 2 receiver in this league. And he's got the speed, just not the hands. But he's a cheap layup with potential, so it's kind of like a why not kind of deal. You know what I mean? So all in all, I still think the Bucs are going to go after a couple more guys in the lower wave of free agency, but they're going to have to start cutting some guys. Because as it sits right now, they're only at about $3 million in their cap, and they need around $9 million just to even sign their draft class. So I don't know if that means, like I'm going to go ahead and answer the question now. My guy Tommy on Twitter asked me, do you think Gerald McCoy still gets cut? Or maybe he restructures. I don't know. I don't know if Gerald would want to restructure, because if they were thinking about cutting him this year and decided to keep him, then he probably knows that next year he's probably not going to be here. So does he want to restructure his deal now and not get the money he was going to make next year, or can the Bucs convert maybe $6 or $7 million of his money this year, move it to next year as guaranteed, and I don't really know how all that works. But I know they can work magic. With the salary cap, they'll get to where they want to be, but there's still going to be some cuts happening. Sorry, excuse me. Now, let's get to the losses. Kwon Alexander. Well, it basically comes down to it. Kwon didn't have the leverage. The Bucs did, and they weren't going to overpay. He's missed 18 games. He misses a lot of tackles. And I've seen some stats saying only 4 players since like 2012 or 15 have missed 40-plus tackles, and Kwon's missed 70. But he was a splash play guy with vocal leadership and obviously young enough to improve. And that's kind of where I was thinking, okay, if Kwon hadn't missed all these games, he might have had more leverage than the Bucs. They might have had to really, really think about keeping him. And the Bucs would have kept him if the number wasn't so high. They were willing to pay around $10 a year, according to some reports. But, I mean, he will be missed. I'm glad he got paid after coming off the ACL. You can't hate the players for chasing the money. $27 million guaranteed is the number. $13 million a year. Higher than the best linebacker in the league, Luke Kuechly. Yes, I said it. Now, if Kwon hadn't missed so many games and tackles, maybe the Bucs have to reconsider. But I'm glad Jason didn't overpay, even though there's a pride in the fact you drafted a 4th-round linebacker who is now about to get paid. Now, let's move on to the one that really, really hurts. Adam Humphries. Here's a guy I think had the leverage. And I was on record saying we need to keep him no matter the cost. But that even had a ceiling on it. Maybe an average of, 6 a year, or until you got to pay guys like OJ or Godwin and all that. I mean, it's a nice deal for Hump. $12 million guaranteed at signing, basically a 2-year, $20 million deal for a slot receiver. It's not bad. You got to go play for Marcus Mariota, and you might end up catching passes from him and Tannehill. But it's going to be fun to see the target distribution with him being gone now as one of Jameis's go-to targets. But all in all, another gem by Jason Light. So who leads in targets after Mike Evans? Is it now OJ? Is it Brait? These are the kind of questions I'm really looking forward to as the season goes on. Let's talk about the new partner we got, Bradley Pinion. I mean, Anger was just a bit too expensive and couldn't handle the kickoff duties. And so now Cairo can focus on just kicking the ball through the uprights. Now, his average is lower than Brian Anger's average, but still younger, and he can handle multiple different things, so the value's obviously better there. Let's see. Let's see, check out my notes here. So I got some NFC South news and notes because there's some interesting things been going on here lately. No more Tevin Coleman. And a lot of Bucs fans are saying, oh, we didn't even try to sign him. You know, it's up to him where he wants to go. And I think it's pretty obvious he wanted to reunite with Shanahan. I mean, you still got Ito Smith in Atlanta. Devontae Freeman's expensive. I took him in my fantasy league last year, and he was hurt most of the time, so that was a big waste of time for me. But I thought Ito Smith was great coming out of college, and he's cheaper than Tevin Coleman was going to be, and they can't afford to pay both of them. You got no more Ingram with Kamara. He went to Baltimore, who is only going to use tight ends and running backs in that offense. You got, well, hold on. Let me take a step back real quick. I thought the Ingram thing was more impactful than losing Coleman because the Saints really had that two-headed monster. I mean, especially going back to 2 years ago. I think they were the first running back tandem to break 3,000 yards from scrimmage together, or 35. I can't remember. It was an insane number. But either way, they were just another long list of two running back sets in the NFC South who have made a lot of production with their team, had a lot of production with their team. Kind of similar to when Doug Martin was with Charles Sims. Then you had Devontae Freeman with Tevin Coleman. You had Jonathan Stewart with D'Angelo Williams. You know, you had Jonathan Stewart and, you know, Christian McCaffrey and something like that. But, you know, Drew Brees' arm got really tired at the end of the year. And, you know, it's not just me saying that. That's analysts that seen the arm strength kind of fading. So, the NFC South is in an influx right now. Thomas Davis is gone from the Panthers. You know, I mean, it's a loss as in a fan favorite player and still very productive. Great story, multiple ACLs, still managed to keep playing. Cam had his surgery, I believe. You know, the NFC South just got a little bit weaker, so maybe we can take advantage of it. We still got a lot of work to do, but I'm excited. I'm just very, very excited. So right now I was doing a starting depth chart as of now, looking at a 3-4. Be free safety Evans, strong safety Whitehead. You have Carlton Davis on the outside. Vernon Hargraves on the outside. You have Spence and Barrett rushing from left end. Buchanan, Mentor, inside linebackers. Barrett, Spence on the outside. Then you're going to have Nassib, McCoy, JPP splitting the defensive end reps. And obviously Vay in the middle. I think that'd be a very, very solid defense. Now, it's all on paper, of course. But then you start looking, okay, where does Ed Oliver fit? Where does Devin White fit? You just got Buchanan. You just, re-signed Mentor. What are you going to do with Buchanan? You sign Josh Allen. Is David going to be an outside linebacker in the 3-4? Is he going to be mostly rushing? I don't think so. I think you keep David on the inside in the 3-4. These are all questions that I'm very, very excited to find out. Closer to draft season. I don't know. I don't know about Joe McCoy on the edge there. Sorry, I'm just sitting there thinking. So, I got a couple more notes here. Kwon is going to be playing against us. Hump is going to be playing against us, or Humphreys, for you guys that don't know his shortened nickname. That's going to be very interesting. A couple other things. I expect the Bucs to sign a veteran quarterback. I still expect them to sign a veteran cornerback. Maybe one more guard, and maybe a veteran running back. That's kind of a stretch. Who knows? I mean, the quarterback for the most part. I mean, you have Ryan Griffin. I don't know. He keeps getting re-signed, and I don't know if he has like some kind of dirt on somebody or something. But they must really, really, really love this guy because he hasn't taken, I don't think, one snap in the NFL, and he keeps holding on to that backup job. He must just be a great, great locker room guy. Maybe just a great ping pong player. I don't know. But look, guys, that's all I got. This was a short and sweet podcast. It was kind of a solo dolo deal. I just wanted to get behind the mic and kind of talk about the free agent news for it blew on past me. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to have another one coming Wednesday. I'm going to try to start scheduling some guests a little bit earlier, give people more time, and also try to have people not cancel on me. But that's going to do it for today's podcast, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Short and sweet. And I can't wait to watch the March Madness tomorrow. I'm out.